So today I've got Chip McCabe on the show. It's the second time he's been on here. So thank you very much for showing up and agreeing to that again. But he also goes by the pen name Creed Woodhouse. And indeed, that is the pen name that he recently released his debut novel. Is that fair to
Debut novel?
say?
Yeah.
Debut novel. Kindred. Now, I'm actually going to interrupt the rest of the intro because we've had it before. I mean, you've written for some incredible publications. You've got writing for places like Metal Insider, Chicago Tribune. You run your own podcast, The Metal Dad. You've previously, you host the Fiendish Five podcast. Beg your pardon.
Yep.
Metal Dad is website. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Awesome. And then, but with Kindred, I had it billed as an extreme horror novel. I don't know that I would necessarily go the extreme horror route. Tell me more about what you think of when you hear the term extreme horror.
Yeah, when I hear extreme horror, I think of gore porn, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
I think of, the Saws of the world. Like that to me is extreme horror where it's just, let's murder everybody. Every character gets a limb chopped off or something like that. I would not say Kindred is that at all. I think it's more of a sort of psychological thriller, occult folk horror maybe, but yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it extreme just because in my mind, extreme is things like gore grind. So,
Exactly. That's precisely it. It's the gore grind of the literary
yeah.
world, so I'm familiar with both. So we can actually talk in that parlance, in that shorthand. I mean, what is the goriest or most extreme horror novel that you've ever read?
Oh, that's a good question. Man, that's a great question. I have to think on that. I can tell you this. I was always more affected by more psychological horror than I was the gory stuff. Like I love the gory stuff. I grew up in the 80s and early 90s watching every terrible slasher movie ever made.
Right.
So I love that stuff. But like what affected me the most, especially as a kid, were books like The Shining or Salem's Lot was one of my all-time favorite, where it's not necessarily gory, but there's so much atmosphere built into these books. I am a huge Clive Barker fan, though, and he gets pretty damn gory. So probably the works of Clive Barker, if we're talking about things that I would continue to reread to this day.
Have you ever read Jack Ketchum at all?
I have not, actually.
I would recommend Off Season just because it's based on
Okay.
this really wild. It's very loosely based on an actual family of cannibals that lived in Scotland
Love it.
during the early modern period. So we love a good cannibal thing. It's basically The Hills Have Eyes, but if it was in Maine, it's Jack Ketchum. So he's one of the proto versions of he's the early onset of extreme horror, and
Right.
I would say I'm going to share mine because, obviously very selfishly, I'm asking the question so I get to answer it. I'm kidding. I did want to hear yours. Clive Barker. So I think the one that I actually went and looked up some of the most disturbing books, and I'm actually going through that list right now. And so one of those was The Summer I Died by, oh God, damn it. I'm actually going to look it up because it'll piss me off. Ryan C. Thomas. That was a pretty obscene one. That's very much one of the books that shows up a lot in terms of hey, you want to really get properly messed up. This one will fucking go there. I don't know about you, but I am always really bored immediately by anything that tries to go the sexual violence route. I'm just
Yeah.
so it's so cheap and so, I don't know, lazy as fuck that I'm just kind of no, I don't give a shit. And especially if the children are involved, I'm you suck. You're trying so hard and yet you're using the lowest hanging fruit to try and, if you can use children in a psychological and a captivating way, i.e. The Shining,
Right.
that's what I'm talking, or Pet Sematary. Holy shit.
Pet Sematary is honestly, if I were to make a list of my top 5 favorite horror novels of all time, Pet Sematary would be somewhere on that list. I actually just reread it about 3-4 months ago. And it still sticks. It's great.
Hits so hard. And that ending is so insanely grim. It's just one of those and then everything went to ash in your mouth. It's like, wow,
Right.
okay, what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
Whew.
Love it.
God damn. It's really like one of those, it's a very compelling, just like, just watch till the wheels fall off of this entire thing. And it's so brutal. So
Yeah.
brutal. Yeah, that's definitely the one that I think out of all of King's works, that's the one that affected me the most because father of two young kids, timing's right. I've
Yeah.
got a 5 and a 2-year-old, and I live right by this. There's this street right here where people go real fast down Bay or up Bay, whatever, in Hamilton. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm just like constantly like, oh, great. Now I have that tumbling around in my head. Fantastic. Always.
100%. You know, it's funny because, and you mentioned that, like, I have always, even before I had kids, I was always affected for some reason. There's probably some deep psychological thing going back to when my parents got divorced, but I always was affected by parents losing children or children losing parents
Mm,
in films or books. But to your point, it had to be done the right way. It had to be done in an emotional way that sort of hit you where it counts, right? Not just we're gonna chop a kid's head off just because it's fun to do. Like that's not that didn't like a Serbian film. That's I could give a shit about a movie like that because it's
yeah.
like you're just trying to be extreme for the sake of extremity,
That's
and
yeah.
that was fine when I was like 15, but I'm like over that now.
Yeah, it's fun when you're like, look, it's basically the equivalent of like looking up boobies on Google for me, where it's like, I understand that you're super keen and interested and curious, and you're like just coming
Yeah,
into the world, my little summer child, but like, I appreciate that like what you're trying to do is like do this like pissing contest between you and your friends, where it's like, oh, this thing that I was able to sit through, and it's like, oh, did
right.
you see Funky Town Gore? I sat through the whole thing, and I'm like, that's not like a thing to that doesn't give you that's not the brag that I think it is.
And I
Uh,
came up in that era of, oh, did you see Faces of Death? Or did you see Traces of Death? Or did you see this? And that was growing up in the video store era. That
mhm,
was absolutely the challenge. And some of those challenges were legit. Like, did you see The Exorcist? Did you sit through the whole thing? Like, did you
mhm.
see Texas Chainsaw Massacre? But like, some of it was like, oh, did you see this B horror movie that's pretending to be a snuff film? Who cares? Honestly.
Honestly. Yeah, I don't know if you ever know of it, but there was that, disturbing movies, ice iceberg chart that came out
Yeah,
a few years ago, and I saw it and I was immediately like, "Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. I wanna see what that's about." Because obviously, for whatever
sure.
reason, if it's disturbing, messed up, I'm drawn like a moth to flame. I just can't turn away from it.
Yep.
I'm sure that that's some sort of psychological shit.
I mean, here's the thing. If I don't shy away from gore. I mean, there's films like Martyrs or The Eyes of My Mother that I love, but
Right.
those films have story, they have character arcs, they have the cinematography is great, the acting is great. Like they have all of the elements. They just happen to be extremely visceral films, right?
Extremely. Yeah.
But
Martyrs is
if
a
you
great
can still
example.
hook me with the story,
Yep.
then I'm in.
Yeah, give me a reason.
If it's literally just we're just going to kill off every character in the most ingenious ways possible, like maybe that's fun for about a half hour, and then I'm just bored to tears after that.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually think of, like, that Japanese snuff-esque film, Ice and Snow or of Blood and Snow or Flower whatever, fuck. I'm not making sense. It's the one that Charlie Sheen saw and was like, "Hey, I gotta call the FBI because this is a real like, this is an actual
Right.
thing." I forget the name of it, but whatever. It's funny, it's telling that the runtime of that is basically like a half hour. And I'm
Right.
like, "Yeah, because that's you've cut
Yeah.
out all of the stuff around it."
Yet you can have a film like Audition that is another extremely visceral
Thank
film, but
you.
is genius. It's a brilliant movie.
It's a slow burn and it's
Yeah.
psychological. It also
Right.
sets there are certain ones that are good because it's not about like having the best monster design or the best gore or the best any of those. Those are compelling factors. They are so important, but it all falls the fuck apart if there's no foundation on which
Right.
like The Thing, Carpenter's The Thing. That is an incredibly great film, not just because of the incredible special effects. I don't give a shit about the effects if there's no story. And the story is just so taut and tight and tense the entire time because from the word go, shit is popping off and it's getting even crazier and it just doesn't
Yeah.
let up. like at all. Even at the final end of the film, you're like, what the, well, what's gonna go, what's next? I mean, shit.
So that's a top five all time favorite movie for me. So
Yeah, there
yeah.
you go. And I thought that the Martyrs example was really compelling because I watched it at a very specific time in my life where I was already getting into like my grim dark period. And that was like the just the that's the thing that really was like, yeah, you think this life is worth living. It's not. I'm like, that is that's a that's that's really fucking dark, dude. I thought I could handle it. No, the ending of that, the whole concept behind it, when you finally realize, like, I like that the concept was like the it's not like a twist per se. Like it's by the
Mhm.
time it's revealed why, what is going on here? Why is all of this this craziness going on? Why is and by the time you're you know that lady sits down with our protagonist and explains like, so again, cults. I
Right.
think there's something fascinating about cults. I'm glad that you feel the same way. I've always been that's what I ask for every time that I go into a store now or bookstore. I say, got anything fun with the occult or cults in general? Like I'm happy whether it's unfortunately most of that people think satanic panic and I'm like it's not what I'm talking about at all actually, but whatever, I'll settle. But I'm thinking of more along the lines of there was one that I read last year, Our Share of Night. Have you ever heard of that one?
It's on my list to read, actually.
And it should be for good reason. It is, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the one. You're if you like cults and you like dark shit, and you also don't mind a little bit of actual history used as like a through line,
Hmm.
really artfully. It's like insane how well done. I'll never stop talking about that fucking book. So Mariana
Awesome.
Enriquez is like got a lifelong fan in me. But I think that the hardest thing to do for me is to like do horror with actual real events in history without it being so ham-fisted and such an eye roller. And she did it like the exact opposite of that, where it's like so sophisticated and so revealing, and yet also at the same time like hits you like a gut. Because don't forget, like, so the it's oh my god, I'm trying to remember. You know what? I'm not going to spoil any of it. I'm going to shut up. Sorry, I was going to get into like the whole nope, 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 nope. I'm not
I
going to do
appreciate
that.
that. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Thank you. I was going to say because I had forgotten to mention it, but I have you ever do you mess about with audiobooks at all? Because I listened to Pet Sematary narrated by the fellow who plays Dexter, actually, and it was an incredible, I guess, performance is the word you would use. Yeah. Have you do you mess about with do you listen to audiobooks
I
generally?
don't normally because they put me to sleep, in all brutal honesty. I remember, and that goes back to my days in high school. I tried listening to Stephen King read the first book of the Dark Tower series.
Uh,
Um, the man in black strode across the desert and the gunslinger followed. That's the opening line, or something to that effect. I could, like, every time that line hit, I just fell asleep. I don't know why. So I just never got into audiobooks from an early age. I just, I like holding the book in my hand and being able to pick it up and put it down when I want. And there's something, obviously I watch tons of films. So there's that sort of audio video component that keeps me engaged, but there's something about just listening to somebody talk that
Mhm.
just, I can't do for some reason.
It's funny. My wife first got me is she like sometimes you are with a person and but at the start of that relationship you're like I'll never get into that. Soy milk and tea, not a chance. Now I it's kind of weird when I don't. See she same thing for audiobooks with me. We she used to she's used to and still does, but she's always kind of had audiobooks to go to sleep to. And I was like, "What? I don't I don't really get it personally. Like I don't see the appeal. I just go to sleep. Well, I didn't go to sleep. I used to drink myself to sleep. So that's a fun thing, but 12 years sober. So there you go.
Congrats.
Thanks. But it's one of those things where once you start to see I started to use it for going to sleep because
Mhm.
she would listen to it, but then she would like, you mind if I just play it out loud so that I don't, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to actually listen. Narrator steps
Uh,
in. In fact, he started to listen. And I remember we were just moving to England back in 2015, and she started listening to Wolf Hall, and
oh,
the person who was reading it was doing all the different voices. The cardinal, like all these particular specific pronunciations of things, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then I got into it because I started commuting to and from work. And well, there you go. That's an hour of listening to something a day. And before you know it, I was like clearing, I was like, well, what have I never read? Because it's too big. Well, Moby Dick, sure, I'll listen to it. And then sure enough, like if you're lucky, you get some really good narrators. But yeah, every now and then I'll be listening to an audiobook. And if it's a warm, lazy day, and I'll be like, nope, nope, not during what, not driving. Nope.
By the
No.
way, I absolutely loved the PBS masterpiece adaptation of Wolf Hall. Mark Rylance was phenomenal in that. Just throwing that out there.
I love that. I did not get to actually watch it myself, which sucks because I really, really, really should have. Having lived in England, you'd think that I would 100% have watched it. It's. Sometimes I genuinely feel the need to apologize for not having seen things. I'm like,
There's
too
only
much.
so much time in the day. You don't have to apologize. It's fine.
Yeah, especially with two youngins. Oh my God. People are like, oh, you should
Yeah.
watch it. I'm like, I'll stop you there. I'm not going to watch that. I'm not going to watch
Yeah.
anything. I don't watch anything. I'm going to do recycling and garbage and compost, and I'm going to, clean up the dishes. There's never not dishes. There's never not
That's
dishes,
true.
never not laundry. Holy cow. Can these kids run through some laundry? I think that that's like the biggest thing is like being a parent. How does it affect the writing process? And I know that you were doing it during COVID and your kids are older. I don't know. First of all, how old were they when you started writing it in COVID?
So I will say this in all brutal honesty. I have 4 kids, so I have twice as many as you have. I could have never written this book when my kids were all little. I just would not have had the time. I think back to so my oldest was born in 2000, and then 2004, 2006, and then 2012. So I spent a
Oh,
lot
wow.
of the 2000s dealing with toddlers and infants, and I didn't go to as many shows. I didn't watch as many movies. I didn't read as many books. Like you just put all of those things on the back burner because it's literally childcare, work, maybe some sleep. I did continue to blog and write articles for different magazines. Like I kept myself active in terms as a writer,
Right.
but it wasn't until 2017 when my 3 oldest kids were all, able to manage themselves, and my youngest was 5, that I wrote the 2 nonfiction books. And
Mm,
then it was another, 3, 4 years before I could sit down and actually write a novel. So um, I like to say that I did most of my quote unquote work writing when they were little. And now I'm in
nice.
that phase of my life where I can write strictly for pleasure if I want, which is what this novel was.
Nice.
So yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Like there's a reason why Stephen King got more prolific, or Anne Rice got more prolific, or whoever, any author who's had kids, they get more prolific as their kids get older because they have more time to do it.
I
And
love
and
that.
even someone like Stephen King, who clearly has made a living off of his writing, and all he does is write, he would still have to set aside time to help raise kids. Like it just is what it is. If you want to be an active, involved parent, that's how it works, unfortunately, or fortunately
Yeah.
for the kids. So yeah, so I'm at that phase in my life now where, my oldest is 26, married, owns his own condo, works for the IATSE union, I mean, he's a grown ass adult at this point.
Love it.
My next 2 kids are 22 and 19, and they are in various stages of college at this point. So they're really only home during the summers. And then my youngest, he's in middle school now. So, he's 13 going on 14. So he's got his friends and all of the stuff he's doing. And he's involved in after school stuff. And so it's like I now have that just a little bit of extra time that I didn't
Hmm.
have 10, 15 years ago. So I will tell you from one parent to another, you are in that phase right now where you have little ones. You will get more time back. I promise.
I feel like Jeremy Renner when he's like, don't do that. She goes, do what? He's like, give me hope. I honestly feel like, oh, God damn. This whole time I'm just like, oh, shit. I could have time back. Whew.
Yeah, I know.
The
I know.
Vespers. Damn, dude.
But the reward it's a double reward in my mind, because the reward is being that active parent and involved in your kid's life, and you're putting aside some of your own extracurriculars. I mean, I still did radio shows. I still wrote. I still did some things. The reward is getting to see these kids grow up into, good adults who are adding good back into their own communities. Like that's the goal. That's the ultimate goal, right? Is to raise good people and put good people back into the world. So I don't regret 1 second of not writing because I was involved in my kid's life. You know what I mean? So it's a trade off. I was willing to make it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is to you if you are going to be an active, involved parent, is the caveat. Like, I mean, I plus I have both my kids are special needs, so it's not like they're particularly like l- low effort anyway. Like it's like one of them's on the spectrum and the other one's got cerebral palsy. So it's like, okay, well, let's fucking finger guns cowabunga this shit as well. So I've been in this headspace because we got the diagnoses like over the course of last year and this year, and it's just been learning to like, okay, I guess I need to learn about these things that I'd only ever heard about. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm
Yep.
like, it always this is one of those things where it's like it always happens to someone else until it happens to you, right? Then all of a
Yep.
sudden you shit, and all of a sudden you got to learn about it, and all of a sudden you're because you got a stake in it. So then I never ever 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 imagined like either any of my kids would be like special needs because I was like that happens to all those people, whoever
Right.
they are. I don't I didn't have like a shitty view of anyone that has special needs kids, but I just never had any sort of experience or anything with it in my own world, like
Yeah, it wasn't
whatsoever.
on your bingo card. Totally.
It just was not. Thank you. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It just was not. And it's one of those things where it's like, even as it was happening slowly but surely, there was more and more evidence that came along. I was like, nope, 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 nope. I don't, no, no, no. And then sure enough, it's like, hey, man, like there's a number of experts all together in a room telling you, like, hey, this is what's the deal. And I'm like, shit. Okay. All of you have MD next. Okay. Yeah. All right. Fuck. All right. Yeah. That said, I do want, if there is anyone else listening that's like, now my life is over because my kids are special needs, I want to be like, well, it does get better, but it will always be harder.
Yes.
It will always be harder. I'm not gonna sugarcoat. I'm not gonna undersell. And there is like that like initial period that is like you're trying to improve and align yourself as you're also doing the thing with this kid, and they are going to grow and develop, and that might be slower, harder, faster, stronger, blah 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 blah. It's okay. It does. Like you're saying, it is. There is a point at which certain things are going to compound. Like you're going to understand more about whatever it is, and you're going to be able to understand, like, oh, I actually know this. I've seen this play out like 100 times, and now I'm getting wise to it. Okay, I see that. And you'll also meet other parents. You'll just connect. You'll find each other. You could try and force it today. You could try and network with others, but like I don't know. I would like actually to know like in terms of like with raising kids, like how important was it for you to like find similar parents with similar interests, with similar stages of life for you as a parent?
We were super lucky in that my three oldest were homeschooled until at least middle school. And
You guys
so,
homeschooled?
yeah, my oldest was homeschooled until high school. And then he went to an arts high school and then Pace University in New York City. My
Sweet.
two middle kids, who were only about 2 years apart, were homeschooled until middle school. And then they went to an arts middle school to the same arts high school and now off to Hampshire College and Wesleyan University here in Connecticut.
Sick.
So we were super lucky that we found this huge homeschool community here in Connecticut where,
Oh,
there's two different, I joke about this and this is really simplifying things. There's two different types of homeschoolers. There's people who do it for religious reasons and people who don't. So we were not the ones who did it for religious reasons. And we found a lot of people who did not do it for religious reasons. They were just crunchy homeschoolers like we were. And we had a lot at that time. We had a lot of things in common with these folks. They all had kids that were the same age. In fact, a bunch of those kids are literally coming to my house tonight because they're still friends with my kids. So it's like, we were lucky in that respect that we sort of found this group that we could lean on. They could lean on us. It was a nice kind of flow. It was more mom centric, if I could put it that way. It was mostly the moms who would, get together with the kids and things like that. But it was great that my kids being homeschooled still had that social network. And
Right.
so, but yeah, but we didn't, to your point, it wasn't forced. It just kind of happened like naturally. We just kind of found our people type of thing. And one family in particular lives one town over from us still, and we're still, besties with them. So it's like
There you
you
go.
find those people in your life, your kids will find those people in their lives. And, as you know, people come and go in and out of your life. Like a David Lynch film, they're just there for certain scenes and chapters, and then they just vanish. But, um, the real ones stick around.
They do. And some of them show up and then they tell you that they're actually standing in your house, even though they're standing in front of you, and that you should
Yes.
call them. And you go, "That's fucking crazy, man."
Great Lost Highway reference. I love it.
Oh man, that scene in particular. I don't know. It's something about the way that he says, "That's fucking crazy, man." That just, I don't know. It just unseats me every single time I see it. I howl laughing. Like I can't stop laughing every time because just his delivery on that. I was just like, I don't know. I think that maybe the first time I,
That's my favorite scene in that whole movie. And where he's like, "Give me back my phone," and he's like,
yeah, yeah,
"Yeah,
yeah.
it's awesome.
Like, what are you doing in my like? How are you doing? What is this? Like,
You
and
invited me." Yeah,
yeah. Plus, that guy like dressed up like a goddamn kabuki doll is like, what the fuck is going on here, man?
yeah,
Da-
it's crazy.
Lynch, dude. He was a real one. I mean, I can't help but think like I feel like the parent we've touched on parenting, we touched on horror, but I want to bring it back to publishing because like there is so much more shit for authors that are looking to get published than ever before, and it's like
Mhm.
the same with musicians. I find there's too many parallels. So both industries, you see the same things play out. The concentration of the majors, consolidation of like influence and power and etc. in the wider distribution network and marketing power that there is, and all of the other traditional legacy news outlets and et cetera.
Right.
Also, the rise of AI, well, LLMs really for words. I like to call it the thing. I don't think it's not an artificial intelligence, it's a large language model. That usually takes the sex out of it for me. I'm like, no, it's a large language model. It's just an autocorrect that's really very sophisticated. That's it. That's all. That's all it's doing. I understand that there's also the ability for code, but that's based on the language of, you guessed it, code. So like let's truly take all of the sexual you know the hotness out of all of this and really just
Right.
talk about, let's call the thing, please. And so yeah, large language models. Same with musicians. Like, hey, my music either got used against my will or I'm trying to now make it as an artist, and there's like, it used to be I could say like 100,000 tracks a day being added to Spotify. That was before the influx of AI bullshit. Now it's like, I don't know, probably twice that number at this point. They got rid of, there was like a new policy put in place by Spotify at the beginning of the year saying no AI music. And it's like, well, yeah, I think that the like verification that they've put in place is like, you have to have, it includes, one of the things that includes is that you have to have over 10,000 monthly listeners. And I'm like, sorry, stop. You're serving the top 60, 50 like you're serving like the whole, wow, how do you justify?
Yeah, literally severing every great local musician I listen to who I know is not using AI. I see them
Correct.
live.
Correct. So this is the thing is like I've and it's like I just saw them like last night. They're people, but you don't treat them like people. You treat it all
Right.
like a big thing, that a problem that you have to scale. Everything's about scaling. Everything's about optimization. Like this is the issue with things like, there's the enshittification, that's Cory Doctorow, the enshittification of like pretty much every service. Like it used to be
Right.
you get a video game, and now that's no longer like a cartridge, it's a subscription. It's the same way with Adobe. I hate you, Adobe. I hate Adobe so goddamn much. It's crazy. Every time that I want to do something with Adobe, they're like, yeah, we're going to get more money from you. And I'm like, the fuck you are. I'm going to go open source with something because you're pissing me off. That's enough. I'm done. I'm over it. I don't know about you, but I can't. I
100%.
so I use and I'm taking all this vinegar into publishing. There's so many examples of people that are like, I wrote a book, I wrote a trilogy, and I'm like, you wrote a book Interest. I've never heard any interest in writing ever, ever, ever before from you. Weird. It's a 300-page book. Okay. Or I wrote a children's book and I'm like, okay, let's take a look at that art. Okay. That's like not even hiding that it's just fucking like shitty AI art. You can like
Mhm.
do some cool, you can maneuver it a lot actually. I do it a lot. I absolutely work with AI visuals. I refuse to call it art. Don't call it art. Don't call it
No.
any of that shit. That it's not. So don't do that. It's not music. It's audio.
Right.
Okay. Music's reserved for the humans.
Right.
Art is reserved for the humans. Writing, literature, prose, poetry, that is for the humans. Right. So there's the AI words that people are spouting out, generica. There's a lot of punters that are just like, I want to get there. So all of that to say is that in your journey of like trying to just get the momentum going, has your experience been harder in this era of publishing versus before? And I understand that you've published before AI
Mhm.
bullshit era,
Yep.
and you've also published now in it. And what are the compare and contrast that for me? Explain the vibe, the overall experience.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, there's part of me that thinks to myself, I picked the wrong fucking era to start writing novels because there's so much, as you put it, there's just so much bullshit out there right now. And I think about the countless hours and self doubt and, emotion that I put into this work. And I get like angry thinking about somebody else who maybe also churned out, because my book is roughly 300 pages. I know it's unnumbered, but it's about 300 pages, who could churn out a similar volume of text using this large language model, as you put it. I get really like heated about that because I self-published this book. I didn't necessarily see a difference. Um, because don't forget, I was pitching this book to like publishing houses and literary agents just before this AI boom started happening in the
Mhm.
literature world. Um, so I didn't see the process change too much between like 2016, 2017, and 2021, 2022.
Really?
I have a feeling though, as I'm working on this second novel now, that when I do go to pitch this to publishing houses or literary agents, it's going to be a completely different process than it was the last three books that I've published, right?
Mhm.
One novel, two nonfiction. So, and part of that is that now, and it's literally less than 6 months ago, one of the popular horror publishing houses got nailed because they accidentally published an AI book, and their author admitted as much that it was AI assisted, and I'm using air quotes on that. And I'm like, so now you've got publishing houses and these literary agents that have to protect themselves
Yep.
for being duped by, for lack of a better word, posers. And
Yep.
so, and it's the shame of it is, I think we can all still spot AI music pretty easily. It's
Getting
getting harder and harder to spot AI writing.
sometimes it's super easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's super easy. There are certain tells that you're just like, okay.
Yeah. But even in the metal world, I mean, we've been using drum machines in the metal world for 30 plus years now, right? Like,
Agoraphobic nosebleed. Like, just
yeah,
need I say more? You know? There.
Mortician, like they've been
Oh
blasting.
shit! That's such a good example, actually. Fuck.
Yeah. But
God
like
damn.
I knew the Mortician guys and they were writing that music. And yeah, they were programming a drum machine, but they still had a live drummer every time I saw them. They still had music that they were writing, lyrics that they were writing, as goofy and gore soaked as they were.
Hmm.
And like it boggles my mind. And I think it's because it's just laziness. It's
Yep.
not wanting to learn your instrument. It's not wanting to practice writing and perfect your craft. It's just laziness. It's not wanting to become a better graphic designer, whatever that looks like, right?
Hmm.
And so there is that part of me that was like, man, if I had written this book 15, 20 years ago, I feel like like the general publishing world would have been in a better place than what it is now, unfortunately, because we're all now trying to, suss out who's using AI and who's not. And it's really frustrating. It's just frustrating. And then on top of that, you have like, I don't know, and I'm sure every writer and every musician gets this. I was shocked when I created the Creed Woodhouse Instagram page at Creed Woodhouse over the last like 3 months, as people have actually been reading my book and real people have been posting reviews on like the Barnes and Noble site or Goodreads. And I know these are real people because half of them I physically sold books to them like in person at events. The number of people who've hit me up looking to work with me for paid reviews is mind boggling. Mind
That's
boggling. I would never in a million fucking years pay someone to write something nice about my work. That is the exact opposite of what I want. It's the exact opposite. And so between that pay to play model that is so prevalent in the social media world specifically, and this AI world we live in, it's
Whoa.
frustrating, man. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's frustrating.
Yeah, that would be. Fuck. But, and it is. And that's the thing. The thing that really blows my mind about this is that, so as a marketer, like, because I am in that world, and
Yeah.
yes, I've got Bill Hicks's whole bit about marketing, suck Satan's cock, like that whole thing plays through my mind. So I'm aware that this is like the most like polishing a dog turd type era of things. There's a number of different creators that I follow. One of them is Eugene Brandt, I believe his name. He's an Australian bloke, very big on his cultural theory with marketing. Very intelligent, very well spoken, super good at what he does. And he's talked about like how there's this K-shaped, there's a gouging out of the middle, but not just in like the class, because that's absolutely the case, but there's also like with brands as well. And so either you have the people that have the most that can do the most. So for instance, the level of sophistication with marketing now, with what you're talking about, you can seed all of these different influencer campaigns, because that's what that's called. That's
Right.
called influencer marketing. Now,
Right.
they might call it. This is the thing that about reviews is like anything where you're judging something. To you and me, that's a review, right?
Right.
But for those folks, they are able to put their head on a pillow at night by saying, I'm not reviewing, I'm promoting. And it's like, okay, well, that's how you go to sleep. Got it. For me, that's what this is. So obviously we have different definitions of the same goddamn thing. So, and I don't know that I'm in love with the fact that like you can have influencer campaigns and marketing where you don't actually have to mention the brand. There's a lot of paid sponsorship stuff where you actually do have to
Mhm.
note that. That's when you work with a corporate brand,
Right.
I'm
Right.
in partnership with Riverside, this piece of content's been brought to you by fucking Sobe. I don't know. I don't care. But what's really, in my opinion, super shitty about this is that like, if I don't know. I don't truly know whether money's changed hands whenever somebody is like endorsing something anymore. Like
Right.
I subscribe to a bunch of I follow a bunch of different accounts, and one of them is Cinephile, Sphere or
Mhm.
World. Yeah, so they have like they occasionally do like really cool like compilations or cuts of things that I'm like, man, that's really good. Like how the fuck? But then I wonder. There's a part of me now that's always now wondering like, did somebody get greased for that? Was there a little bit of money that changed hands over something like that?
Right.
Now I have to always wonder, and that's always on. And if it's always firing, it's dead, because that's what they do, is they, meaning like, oh, I don't know, large institutions the world over and tech giants, etc., is that they just keep on bombarding you constantly. And hopefully that then becomes the new normal. For us meaning people that are in the grassroots, people that are not part of legacy models.
Right.
What it takes is for us to continue to consider shit as being shit. Like it's if something sucks, that we say that it does. And
So I had a rule when I was reviewing music. And I still have this rule for the Metal Dad blog, and I'll be doing more music reviews on there in the coming months. If I didn't like your record, I didn't write about it. That counted for local bands. That counts for bands that I get sent from marketing agencies, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My goal was to tell people, in my mind and in my opinion, what records were worth listening to.
Mm-hmm.
What records could you go spend your money on?
Mm-hmm.
So, have I written negative reviews in the past for newspapers or whoever who asked me to write specifically about something and I didn't like it? Yeah, of course. Every journalist, every music journalist has to do that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if I were sent an album
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't like it, I wasn't writing about it. I wasn't going to waste my time telling people that I think this record sucks. I would rather spend my time telling people, hey, this record is great
It's awesome.
and you should go listen to it. And this is why.
That is exactly the same model that I used with my own whenever I was doing reviews, which admittedly in the last 4 or 5 years, I don't do very much. But before that, I've got like hundreds under my belt. But like that's because I was a machine. I was just like, man, when I wasn't working a corporate job, I was like, yo, I am listening to whatever is new and I want to write
Right.
about it because I want to get my chops up. And yeah, I absolutely, when I started out, whatever I was assigned, I would just write about, which meant that I was stuck with some ones that I was just like, this is like, I've given a 2 out of 10 before, back when
Yeah.
V13 even did the numbering system. But
Yep.
we got rid of it for the same reasons that you're talking about, which is like, why would we bash something based on one person's review? Like, what there's no winning in that situation of a bad
Right.
review because the publicist isn't happy, the reviewer isn't happy because they now have to like say their honest piece and now maybe catch shit for it, which I absolutely have. I've totally
Yep.
gotten shit from certain. It's usually people that are in film that are more like, well, but I don't fucking save it, okay? I
Right.
don't. I feel like whenever I have gotten shit, because I've got these snarky little fucking emails, and I feel like Bricktop in Snatch when he's like, listen up, you stop me next time, I'm gonna cut your fucking jackups up. I don't want to. If I give a dog a bone, I don't want to know how good it tastes. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I feel like I want to do that routine, but instead it's just ghost. I'm not listening. I'm not caring. I'm not going to talk to you. Fuck off. That said, I now have seen the worth of like, no, just focus on the stuff that you actually like.
Right.
Focus on the stuff that you actually want to talk about. Because first of all, there is not enough time in the day to like
It's
or talk.
funny because magazines like Decibel, who I love, sometimes catch shit if they have an issue where it's only, sevens and eights and every record has a decent review, right? But
Yeah.
that's what I want. Why do I want to sit and read reviews of albums you hated? And guess what? You're giving a bad review to this X band that I already don't like. So you're just taking up space that could be used for a band, maybe even an indie band that needs the promo that put out a great record.
Yeah.
So put that in there. I don't
Right.
need to know that you gave the new, you know, Corn remaster a 2 out of 10. I don't give a shit. But I do want to know about that indie doom metal band from Australia that like I maybe haven't heard yet. You know what I mean? Like, and so that was always my philosophy when it came to reviewing music is that I want to share with you stuff that spoke to me and
Hmm.
maybe it'll speak to you as well.
Would you ever consider doing book reviews? I know that's a really random question, but
Um, I would. I'd have to find the time to read more books.
oh yeah, right. That whole thing.
It's easier for me to put on an album, let it play in the background, wait for something to catch my ear, and then go back and listen to the record again, like
Yeah.
actual sit down and listen to it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a
but
much more
man,
passive
I
thing.
would love to be able to sit down. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. So a friend of mine just put out, Karen Ponzio, who did a very nice review of my book on her website,
Nice.
KarenPonzio.net. She just released her first book of poetry, which I will
Oh,
be
nice.
reading and doing a review myself for her. But I need to find time to sit down and read her book. So it's like I would love to
Yeah.
do more of that. I would love to do more film reviews.
Mm.
I need to be able to sit down and watch the film and then make the time to give a review that is something I would be proud of writing. Also,
Right.
so,
Right. I mean, it's tough because what's interesting, and this is something that I'm not sure that most people are aware of, because I've been on the other side of it. I've been in the like like on the music journalism side of things for a long time, and I didn't realize that like when COVID hit, like it basically was a wildfire, and it cleared all these mom and pop blogs the world over, like overnight, gone
Yep.
because all of the any and every and all sites that were existing on a paid model that had advertising dollars. First of all, the advertising dollars just went boop, gone. And
Yep.
that didn't come back for a year and a half. So yeah, shit went away. And then when it did come back, it was like fucking pittance. So basically everything died. And then, or most things died. V13 continued because, funny enough, it had just done a rebrand, and also Chris had made the decision. He's the founder of
Mm.
V13, and a good friend of mine actually. We've gotten incredibly close, and actually, frankly, he's been my biggest cheerleader ever since we met. Like he's been the one. Yeah, do you have that one person that just like wants to read what you've written? Like, do you have that one person that like just is constantly like, yeah, dude, I want that. Please give me more of that.
Yeah, I have a couple, thankfully.
That's awesome.
One of them actually is my 19-year-old who is also a huge horror fan. So
That's so sick.
anytime I'm writing, the first chapter of this new book I fed to him, I was like, give me your opinion straight up, Um, he said it's better than Kindred. So I'm gonna take that for what it's worth and continue moving forward.
Sorry, that's like to me, that's like you might as well be talking about like when I was farming on Mars. I'm like your own son like is like having conversation. I'm like, oh my god, that could be me someday. Oh, but like that's so cool. That's so cool. God damn. All right. Well, that's super sick. Well, that's who Chris was and has been for me. And when the entire industry went brush fired,
Mhm.
he was like, well, I guess it's up to me to just kind of like run this thing without any overhead or expense whatsoever. So it's like, well, no one's getting paid anyway. So that's it. Like whatever the payment is that you get to have published a work and listened to a song or album early or gone to a show and taken photographs. Sorry, not sorry. But like
Yep.
we don't have money. Fuck us, right? Like that's how it is. Like all of that went away. But people don't realize that since that happened, reviews are actually insanely hard to get because of this very same thing that we're talking about.
So, it's funny you say that because now the metaldad.com, I've never had paid advertising on that website. It's always been a passion project. I've always reviewed things just because I love writing. I needed to continue to write and continue to
Right.
master that craft. So that was it. Right. And I
You
would
had to do it anyway.
focus, had to do it anyway. And I focused obviously on heavy metal and my local music scene here in Connecticut, whatever that looked like. It could be metal or not metal or whatever. I actually during COVID stopped doing the reviews because I was writing a novel, not because I lost ad revenue or anything like that. I just decided to shift my focus. But I have
Right.
had so many musicians come back to me and say, "Hey, where do I send this for a review?" There's just nowhere left. So there's been enough musicians who said that to me for me to go, okay, I think it's time for me to start writing reviews again, right? Because clearly there's a need here for
You
people
will
to,
be inundated. You will be
yeah.
inundated.
So
Like it will be very I RIP your inbox. I swear to God. It's gonna be
well,
fucking
my inbox already is RIP, but
fair
we're
play.
going to start. I used to do a monthly series called More Guitar on the Monitor. Because have you ever been to a show where you did not hear that? Someone say that. Can we get more guitar on the monitor? Every show I've ever been to. It doesn't matter what genre. Um, so it's just basically a monthly roundup of like 4 to 8 albums that I liked that month that I heard with just sort of quick hit, maybe 1 or 2 paragraph
Yeah.
reviews.
Roundups.
So
Yep.
I'm going to bring back more guitar on the monitor at some point.
Yep.
There was the metal and non-metal version of more guitar on the monitor because obviously metal is king and I need to separate that out.
That
Um,
own category, frankly.
yeah, it's its own plateau, right? Its own
Mhm.
mountain.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I'll be doing more of that in the future. But again, but also still trying to write a second novel, still trying to raise kids and I gotta leave in 15 minutes to go to my day job. So like, it's still
There you go.
It's
There
all
you
a
go.
labor of love, man. Nobody's getting rich writing horror novels and writing metal reviews. It's just not, it's just not in the cards.
That wasn't already. That's the difference is like
Yeah.
you can if you have money to throw around and you have like I mean you can go much farther quicker obviously when you have money to invest in said project. That's a given.
Right.
Nobody's arguing with that. I will say a few things though cuz like and I will like I also need to cap it cuz like you and I dads, right? We don't have the luxury of I think that's why people let me put it a different way. I think that's why a lot of people use the accusation of nepo babies a lot more these days. Have you been
Mhm.
hearing that term being thrown around a lot more?
Yeah.
Yeah, and industry plants and all that. I'm like I think that it can exist, but I also don't think that people really are using it properly ever cuz like nepo baby is kind of like I get that that person had tons of resources, so much so more than you and I will ever have combined for the rest of our lives by a factor of 10 in many cases. That said, I also do think that there is something to be said for like sometimes it's like some people are talented and they just happen to have that extra connection or
Mhm.
that extra thing. And it's like that what's the point in me trying to figure out precisely what the thing is because they don't even know and no one will really ever know because that's not like an objective you would have to like
Right.
have the data points of like all these millions of people that have engaged with it anyway so it's kind of a fruitless endeavor. I do think that there's something to be said for when people have it all and then it doesn't go anywhere because it is truly shit. So
Yeah.
the thing is, like, you can put all the money in the world, but I'm not gonna give a shit about a specific project if I don't fucking wanna hear about it. Like, you can put out
Exactly.
1, 2, 3 albums. Go ahead. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care. You can't make me. You can spend $1 trillion, try to make me some, like, incel, some manosphere, slobbering fucking Neanderthal. It's not gonna happen, babe. Not gonna
Right.
happen. Jeff, Mark, stop. Don't bother. Elon, it's okay. Boys,
And I think, and when you think in terms of like horror movies, to bring it back to horror movies, the marketing push for some films over the last few years that have just not been good films. And then you still see all of these glowing reviews everywhere. And I watch a movie like Weapon or Longlegs, and I'm watching
long
these
legs.
movies and I'm going, this movie fucking sucked. What am I missing? Like, what am I actually missing that I might be the only person in the world that thinks this movie blows?
Yeah, and long legs is the perfect example that I thought of when you said that because I was like, please say long legs because that's the marketing on it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Loved it. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, this looks good. But then, sure enough, I watched it and I'm like, what? No,
Yeah.
the dates
Yeah.
are on a grid that she, what? The fuck?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. This is silly. And I don't know. I don't know. I get very disappointed when the marketing is better than the thing. I do. I get really fucked off when it comes to that. I haven't seen
I
Weapons
mean,
yet. Apparently, I don't need to worry too hard
no,
about it.
don't bother. Don't
Yeah.
bother.
Okay. Cool. Fair enough. I watched Incantation recently, and that was
But see,
great. So,
you're gonna have listeners right now who are like, well, that guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about because that movie was great. And I'm like, that's cool. We can all like different things. But did you
fuck.
like those movies because they hammered you? And this is a question that's esoteric. You can't really answer it. Did you like this movie because they hammered you? It hammered your social media with cool
Mhm.
trailers and cool photos and all these
Yeah.
things. And then you just kind of liked it because everyone else liked Fangoria liked it and Dread Central liked it and everybody else liked it and everybody told you it was the best horror film of the year. Is that why you liked it? I don't
That's who knows is the problem, but also something to add more data to it. Did you like Barbarian?
know. The movie was terrible.
Interesting. So, I thought that it. So yeah, no. I don't think that it's like a great film.
Right.
I don't hate it because it was enough of a like what the fuck kind of I guess twist sort of if you wanted to. But I'm kind of like it's definitely interesting. I don't know like
So
almost
here's the
like a
thing. Decent concept, poor execution. That was my thought on Barbarian. And anytime Justin Long shows up in a movie, I literally go, this fucking guy, because he inevitably ruins every film he's in.
I actually, he had such a hateable character in that film.
Yeah.
I thought that was the good job that he did with that. I actually thought it was really, I don't know. I guess when I watched it, I always watch horror films by myself because I can never get anyone else to watch it with me, boo-hoo,
Me.
etc. But I also like to watch it by myself because I went and saw Paranormal Activity by myself in an empty theater when it came out, like, because I was kind of like stoked because I'm a sucker for haunted films, like ghosts and
Me
shit.
too. Yeah.
Grew up
Yeah.
Catholic, so I grew up with ghost stories, and
Mhm.
I love to see that shit by myself. And I think that when you see something by yourself, if something gets you to kind of be like, what is going on here? Sometimes that's kind of like fun and you're liking it, and sometimes you're just kind of like annoyed. I think it was a
Yeah.
coin toss for me that day when I saw it. It could have just as easily gone the other way. That's how I feel about it because I'm like, I feel like film for me is very much like a two ladies, one vase kind of thing where sometimes I'm like, that was kind of cool. Other times I'm like, that was fucking dumb. Like,
Yeah.
cool concept, cool trailer. Well, actually, the actual purpose of it, I'm like, no,
Right.
no, no. Yes, no. Whatever. I'm very like, I'm glad that I heard so somebody coming out and definitely saying something about it. I'm like, wow, cool. Cause to this day, I'm like, I don't really know how I feel about it. Barbarian.
Yeah. Not a
Yeah.
fan. Sorry.
No, no,
But
don't be. Oh, never
and it's
apologize
funny you
for that.
mentioned watching horror movies by yourself. My wife is not a horror movie fan at all.
Same.
I
Absolutely
made
hate
her watch The Invitation with me once, and they gave her such horrible anxiety to this day. If it pops up in our, recommended on a streaming service, she's like, turn that off
no,
right now. I don't even want to see
no.
a photo
Yikes.
of it. But even as a kid, I have a younger brother who's 3 years younger than me. We would sometimes watch movies together. I have fond memories of he and I watching like Maximum Overdrive together, and we would quote that movie back and forth to each other. But a lot of the extreme horror that I watched, or extreme for a 14-year-old, The Omen or Rosemary's Baby or stuff like that, I watched by myself in a dark living
Yeah.
room. You know, my parents weren't really horror fans. Like that was just my thing. The
Yeah.
same thing I would watch Headbangers Ball by myself in the dark, sneak into the living room at midnight on a Saturday to watch that.
Thank you. I'm chasing a
But
high over here, man. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm like, I'm
yeah,
trying to get something. I'm not trying to feel something, you know?
that's exactly what it was. And it was like, so even now to this day, I'll sit with a laptop and watch a film by myself. My wife will be right next to me on the couch. I'll take the headphones off and she'll be like, how was it? And I either give her like the thumbs up, the thumbs down, or the.
Nice.
So, but I do feel like there's a meme that's going around, or it's been going around for years, about the kid from the PSA, the blonde kid with the spiky hair, where he's like giving the thumbs up at the screen, and it's like horror movie fans watching 8 million films to find the one good one. Like I feel like that sometimes. So
So true.
yeah.
God damn.
So when she'll be like, "How was it?" I give her like the hard thumbs up, like, "Yes, this was good."
Nice.
I've got to have you come on the Fiendish Five podcast so you can tell me what your top 5 favorite horror movies are. We're going to do that.
Ooh, that's fantastic. I've already got like my top 3, so I'm ready.
All right.
I'm
Well, don't
ready.
tell me. Don't tell me. It's got to be a
Oh, no, no, no,
surprise.
no.
Yep.
Big surprises. Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm looking forward to the next one, 100%.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time.
You too. Thanks, man.